Today I wanted to talk to you about there's quite a few teachers now, and it's coming, I'm seeing it more and more everywhere I go. One, because I believe the law isn't done away with, and so I find a lot of good teachings by the Hebrews that say only Hebrews can be saved. And my question is, if only Hebrews can be saved, why did Paul even go to the Gentiles? If only Hebrews can be saved, why did Paul even go to the Gentiles? Why did Paul even go to the Gentiles? Why did Paul even go to the Gentiles?
I want to give all the praises and the honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem Rakha Hakwadash, in the name of the Holy Spirit, and double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. Also, shalom to the hopefully elect, laboring as well. And I want to touch on the video, going in the video controversially, so to speak, dealing with, I guess I'll title it Gentile, Jew, Greek, another name, or let's say Gentile and another name, so to speak, because the one thing that is separating us from the Christians and their belief, well, quite a few things, but one of the stumbling blocks is Gentile. Okay, they can't even get past the one you call Jesus, that Greek name, okay, or his skin complexion. They can't even get by that, but that's another video. But the one thing they can't get by is the Gentile thing, okay? Now the first thing that has to be understood is doing the transliterations, and basically dealing with the American language itself is one of the most confusing languages on the planet. Yet easy to pick up, but it's one of the most confusing. That's why when foreigners come here and they'll hear you speak a sentence, and then all of a sudden you'll say a word that's a stumbling block to them, okay? Because that word, as they knew it, meant something else that they learned according to the English language, but you're meaning it in another level, in a total different form, so to speak. So we'll get into that in a second. So let's go to Matthew 10 and 5. Okay, it says, these 12 Yahushua, and they'll say Jesus, sent forth, commanded them, saying, go not into the way of the Gentiles, and into any city of the Samaritans enter ye not. And you continue to read, it says, but go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. So wait a minute, there's 1 minute that the scripture says don't go to the Gentiles, and the next minute it says, the scriptures will say go to the Gentiles. So the Bible is one of the most complicated books to the modern world, okay? Only because the English language is one of the most complicated languages to the modern world. So you're going to have confusion, okay? And the Lord says what? He is not an author of confusion, okay? And it's just that simple. The Lord is not an author of confusion, and that's what we see here with the language that's in America. It's a confused language, okay? So let's go to just to get an understanding of these definitions, because like us at Great Millstone, we go really into the words, man. It's important to go into the words, okay? For instance, we'll go into the word homograph. The definition of a homograph. A homograph is one of two or more words spelled alike but different in meaning or derivation or pronunciation, such as the bow in a ship, okay, or a bow and arrow. Now, they're spelled differently, but they're spelled the same, but they have different pronunciations and they have different meanings. But this can be confusing to somebody who don't really understand the English language. And to be honest, a lot of our people that's been here from kindergarten, born here in America, raised on the English language, even graduated from college, still don't quite have the understanding of the meaning of these words. Okay, it's called laziness. They will not get into looking up the words and seeing what it means. Okay, so now when we go to the word homophone, you have homographs, now you have homophones. Homophones is one, okay, of two or more words pronounced alike but different in meaning. So this is where you would get the word Gentile, okay? When you read Matthew 10 and 5, when it says, go not into the way of the Gentiles, that is a homophone. Now, when you go to Romans 2 and 10, okay, I'll read that. It says, but glory, honor, and peace to every man that worketh good, to the Jew first, and also to the Gentile, okay? What that is another homophone, okay? You had Gentile, and, because the Lord said he's not an author of confusion. Everybody should know that. That's a Christian. The Lord does not confuse anything. So why would the scripture says, don't go to the Gentiles, then the next, come to the Gentiles? Now, you can try to separate the stories and say, well, that's how he thought then, but when Apostle Paul came, look, Apostle Paul came to finish the ministry of Yahushua, man. Okay? Him and Yahushua, look, man, all the apostles, which Apostle Paul was not one of the 12 tribes of the 12, but you got to understand they all had the same goal and intentions in mind. Okay? There was no confusion there. Okay? They all had the same goal and intention in mind, to go to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Well, when Yahushua said that, what do you think Apostle Paul was doing? He was going to the lost sheep that was scattered. Look at the book we in, the book of Romans, okay? We were following Greco-Roman customs. You got Rome, you got Israelites in Rome, you got Israelites in Greece, Rome, you got Israelites in Africa, obviously. I'm talking about West Africa, okay? I mean East Africa. You got Israelites in East Africa. You got Israelites in China. You got Israelites in Russia. Now when you go to the book of Matthew, I believe the last chapter, last verse, when it says, go there teaching all nations, baptizing them. Okay, that's talking about Israelites. We are doing the same ministry that Apostle Paul, that Yahushua, and all the other Israelites did. We're doing the same thing. Healing the sick. How are we healing the sick? With the truth. Before you came into the truth, you were sick. You're physically sick. Obviously, the Lord's got to come to heal us from that. But from the spiritual sickness, this is what we're doing. We're doing the same thing, man. Okay? So Gentile has to be a word that's understood. Okay? Now we go to Galatians, because then you have people say, well, wait a minute, that you can be a spiritual Israelite. It says to the, just paraphrasing, you go to the, you not all Israel, but of the Spirit. Well, guess what? You have guys that know that they're Israelites right now, and then you have spiritual Israelites that would look like other nations as well, because they are according to the Spirit. Okay? It's according to the Spirit. Let's get that in Romans 8 and 16. It says, the Spirit itself bear witness with our spirit that we are the children of Yahweh. So then, here comes the contradictions and the complications again. Okay, you'll have Christians say, well, wait a minute. The scripture says it's about the Spirit that bear witness. Yes, it is the Spirit. But it's because of the Spirit that we're able to wake up other Israelites that may look like other nations or may not even know who the hell they are. The average Jake in the middle of the ghetto that may not even know who the hell they are. Okay? That's all part of the Spirit that's bearing witness with our spirit. And it's just as simple as that. And I'm just trying to make it, It's easy to understand, but not everybody's going to get it. Okay, not everybody's going to get it. So let's go to Galatians 5:5. For we through the Spirit wait for the hope of righteousness by faith. Okay, again, only the Israelites can wait through the Spirit by hope in the faith. I know it's hard for a lot of people to get. It's a hard thing to deal with. If you're not an Israelite, you can't be saved. Okay, it's just that simple. I got news for you. A lot of our people is not going to make it until they have to come back, reincarnated, so to speak. Okay, or back through the Spirit, through the flesh, as the elect will bring the rest of the Israelites back. Okay, so let's get another scripture to kind of sum all this up, to make more sense of the matter, because again, it would be a contradiction to say, well, you can be a spiritual Israelite, you can be any kind of Gentile. Okay, because you do have a Gentile as a heathen. Okay, but really Gentile just simply means foreigner. Okay, Romans 9:1. I say the truth in Yahushua, they say Christ. I lie not, my conscience also bearing me witness in the Holy Ghost. Okay, and this is what we just read in Romans 8:16. Our people bear witness in the Spirit. Okay, it goes on to say, and only the Israelites that can happen to. It says that I have great heaviness and continual sorrow in my heart. Okay, for I could wish that myself were accursed from Christ, for my brethren, which is Yahushua, for my brethren and my kinsmen, according to the flesh. Okay, that sums it up right there. Now, if these are Paul's words, and he's saying to the Jew and to the Gentile, why would this be it? And secondly, why would it say to the Jew first and then to the Gentiles? If Gentiles is heathens, that would be kind of contradictory too. Because now you're saying to the Jew first and to the Gentile, and then to the Gentile. That's really kind of contradictory, because if the Gentiles were heathens, that wouldn't make no sense to say to the Jew first to the Gentiles. You would say to all that believe, all people, all manner of people that believe. But the reason why he said to the Jew first is to say that we the Jews that know they were Israelites, but to the Gentiles who doesn't understand that they're Israelites. That's what that's talking about. Okay, that's why it says to the Jew first, then to the Gentile. Okay, because if you're claiming that the Gentiles can make it, the heathen Gentiles can make it, then what you're throwing a little racism or trick in the trick bag, so to speak, and saying that the Jews is going to get first and then to the Gentiles. No, when the scripture says all the elect is going to get the same reward. Okay? Anyway, it goes to say, whose are the fathers and whom's concerning the flesh Christ came, who is over all. Okay? You can't get around that. Okay? Let's go to 6. Not as though the word of God has taken none effect, for they are not all Israel which are of Israel. Okay? And those are different ways you can go on that as well, because you got a lot of people who claim to be Israel and they're not Israel. Okay? The Lord is going to weed out the non-elect. Okay? But you got, when you look at this as well, it says, for they are not all Israel which are of Israel. Guess what? There are people that's going to look like other nations, okay, but are of Israel. Okay? For they are not all Israel which are of Israel. Okay? You're going to have people that look out like other nations which are going to be of Israel as well. Okay, it says, neither because they are the seed of Abraham are they all children, but in Isaac shall thy seed be called. Okay? Okay, now when you go into the story of Isaac, who had Jacob and Esau, that's plain and clear to see. Jacob got the blessing, Esau didn't. Okay? That is, they which are the children of the flesh, these are not the children of Yahweh. Okay? But the children of the promise are counted for the seed. Okay? Okay, so you got these heathens, okay, who came out of Isaac, believe it or not. Okay, you had Jacob, Esau, you had the lineages on down. Esau is a heathen. He's a non-believer. Okay, let me read that again. Neither because they are the seed of Abraham are they called thy children, are they all children, but in Isaac shall their seed be called. Right, because you had Esau that came out of Isaac as well. Okay? That is, they which are the children of flesh, these are not the children of God, but the children of the promise are counted for the seed. For this word of the promise, at this time will I come, and Sarah shall have a son. And not only this, but when Rebekah also had conceived by one, even by the father Isaac. Okay? And it goes on to say, for the children being not yet born, neither having done any good or evil, that the purpose of Yahweh according to the election might stand, not of works, but him that calleth. It is said unto her, the elder shall serve the younger. Esau came out first. As it is written, Jacob have I loved, but Esau have I hated. Okay? So you can't get around that. You just can't get around that. Okay? Guess what? So the whole point of the video is Jacob seed is spreaded. Okay? We are scattered, as the curses say. And the seed of Israel is who the Lord ultimately loves. Okay? But the seed of Esau, he doesn't. So our people were scattered amongst all the Gentiles. That's why it says whether Jew nor Greek. We live in America, okay? Which this is modern day Rome. So you would look at America as modern day Rome, and you don't believe me, look at downtown DC. Look at all the places that you see. Look at your money. Sodom of Egypt, okay? Didn't the Greeks pretty much take down the Egyptians? Okay, so when you look at America in itself, this is Greece, this is Greek, and Egypt, so to speak, but let me say Greek. This is the Roman Empire all over again. So if this is the Roman Empire all over again, do I call myself a Roman citizen? Yeah, if I was born here, I would be a Roman. Okay, like Cornelius, he would have been who he said who he believed he was, even though he was in the so-called Italian band. Guess what? He was still an Israelite. Would all of us say that we were? If this place was named after Greece, if this was Greece alone, would we not all say we were Greeks? Now, if we're waking up to the truth and we're trying to adopt the children of the promise into what we believe, then when we would say the Jew, us as Israelites, and we also say to the Greeks, you Greeks out there, okay? Because I can't walk up on somebody and call them an Israelite. I would have to call them who the hell they are, you so-called Negro. So that would be the same thing as saying to the Jew or the Negro. Right? That would say to the Jew or the Hispanic, to the Jew or the Chinese. It's all about the spirit. Okay? So the understanding would be that when it says the Jew, the ones of us who know who we are, and to the ignorant who don't know who the hell they are. That's my take on that. I want to say shalom.
First, I'd like to give all praise to Yahweh Ba'Hashem Yahushai, Ba'Hashem Rakah Kadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who taught me this truth and sincerity. Shout out to Yakim that's still going out there on the four quarters of the earth, risking your lives to do so in a time that is just about up, as we know that Donald Trump is about to make an announcement that they're going to go into war, not just against Syria, to take out Damascus, but against Tehran, under the pretext of the nuclear facility that Benjamin, not a Jew, is lying about. You can best believe that the whole reason why the cabinet was replaced and all that was for Benjamin, not a Jew, to attack Iran. It's always been about a war with Iran, because we know that's what the Bible prophecy says, especially in Ezekiel 38, but also in Jeremiah 49, and in many other chapters, that what they would do is they would eventually take down Damascus, and they would be brought into the valley of Jehoshaphat, and pretty much we're seeing this unfold under pretext. It's very similar to the mother of all battles, Desert Storm. That's what it was referred to. You know, it was a mother of all battles because of the fact that that was in the valley of Jehoshaphat, you know. And we saw the beginnings of that in 1990 under the pretext that Saddam took Kuwait. And keep in mind, though, that Saddam was a Saudi prince, okay? The United States put in Saddam to go after Iran. There was an 8-year war between Iran and Iraq, also known as the Gulf War. The United States put Saddam Hussein in. He failed to get the job done. That's why they set him up back in 1990. To take him out of power, to put in another puppet government in Iraq. But they didn't take out Saddam until about 2003, under the pretext of, quote-unquote, Al-Qaeda, that he was affiliated with Al-Qaeda and he had chemical weapons. You know, very similar to what's happening now with Iran having nuclear weapons. Nuclear weapons. Assad has chemical weapons. It's just the same shit over and over again. But however, though, this time, when the United States makes its move, when the United States and the Israeli state, the least of their flock, drawing them out, makes this move, that will be the end all. So, we're seconds away from Donald Trump about to make that announcement. You know, that he's going to draw a red line, you know, like always. And draw a red line for Iran to comply with, you know, weapons inspectors teams. You know, all the shit that he did to Saddam, you know. Going to draw a red line, you know, to have all this and all that. And ultimately, though, they're going to say that he's not cooperating with the inspectors, just like they're trying to do with Bashar al-Assad, you know, saying that, oh, they're not allowing the OPCW in there, even though it's been proved that the Duma chemical attack was in fact staged. They're going to keep on doing this with Iran. And so you know that Donald Trump is going to make the announcement that they're going to go into Iran to remove the chemical weapons or the nuclear weapons themselves. That's what the game plan is. And the line has been drawn out. So before all this happens, well, the economic crash, which we are seeing that, we just haven't seen it hit till about 3 weeks from now when the tariffs actually go through. And imports from China, which includes pork, which if you're a fellow Jake, you should not be eating pork anyways, but as well as many other foods, fruits, eggs, you know, all those things are going to be very, very expensive. Not to mention the Petro Yuan is rising up in value. I keep forwarding videos talking about this, you know. And so, well, what can we do in the meantime? The only thing we can do is build each other up, but, you know, as it's been stated before, we're not exactly going to be out there teaching when they shut down the internet. That's another thing that's coming, is that, of course, they're going to shut down more and more channels and streams and videos. You know, they're going to clean up the alternative media to where you won't be able to get all the information, you know. But, you know as well as I do that mainstream news is run by the Israeli state, by those fake-ass Jews, the Amalekites, you know, the least of their flock. And why are they the least of the flock? Well, that's because, you know, King Saul was ordered to slay all of them. He damn near did. But there was still a few left. And so that's why they're called the least of the flock. You know, because Amalek is the head tribe of Esau. But unlike Judah being the most big part of the 12 tribes of Israel, the Amalekites are very, very small. You could call them the 1%. and everybody else is 99%. But they throw everybody into the 99%, which includes other Edomites as well as all nationalities of the 99%. You have the 1%, the Illuminati, the global elite, your Rothschilds, Rockefellers, that family, And of course, a lot of kings live deliciously, such as the Saudi kings, which Saddam was once a Saudi king. But he was removed from power, quite simply put, because he didn't get the job done against Iran. After an 8-year war with Iran, he couldn't even get it done. Iran's about 3 times the size of Iraq, but make no mistake about it that the main reason that they're after Iran to begin with has to do with the fact that in 1979 the Ayatollah had declared independence, aka Islamic Revolution was led, and they got out. They got out of being a puppet government, There was a coup d'etat back in the 50s, which was brought by yours truly, the United States, the whore, Babylon the Great. And for years, Iran was a puppet government until 1979. They've been wanting control of Iran ever since then because they knew, though, that sanctioning them and all that would not stop them from being able to do imports. Because China, which is Moab, will always do trades. Whatever the best price is, whatever they can get it for, they're going to do trades with. And Russia has always been an ally with Persia, aka Magog. And so we can see, though, that it's at the very end of this. The petrodollar is soon to become number 2. It's still number 1, but it's still soon to be number 2. The petro-yuan will rise. And we're going to see this in just a matter of days now. We're already seeing more and more businesses shut down. I wasn't even looking for this, but come to find out, though, that another place that had been on Eureka Way here in Reading, that's not there anymore. Not even the recycling center that's behind it. Went to go look yesterday, and then sure enough, that was closed too. And that's a grocery store, by the way. Sunset Market was a grocery store. That's been closed for a while. Well, of course, it's it's a smaller grocery store, but it's to that side of town. It's like one of the last places you can stop by before you get into Old Shasta on your way to Whiskeytown or to the coast. It's the last place in Reading that you can stop at to get whatever needs you have. But nonetheless, though, that's closed. Rayleigh's was downsized to just one store. Safeway still is 2 stores here in Reading, but you're going to see a lot of changes when these prices go up. They will not be able to compete, and it's going to close down grocery stores. There's going to be food shortages, I just talked about the fact that even at those giveaways that eventually they're going to start turning people away, and what they can give away ain't very much. Everything is changing. So the only thing we can do now is pray that we're counted worthy to escape, most of all, and pray in the name of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakal Kadash, and just continuing to do this. We won't be able to do it much longer, so make every bit count is all I can say. Make no mistake about it, Trump will be making that announcement not too long from now, under the pretext of Iran having nuclear weapons. Shalom.
All right, Shalom. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakah Kodash. Double honors to my apostles and elders at Great Millstone, and honors to all you fellow laborers that are enduring afflictions to bring out this word in sincerity and in faith. Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakah Kodash, Barakatham, to all you sincere listeners. All right, so, this article was sent on a thread by the brother in the Tampa camp. And this is big. North and South Korea reportedly set to announce official end to war. Ahead of a summit next week between North Korean Premier Kim Jong-un and South Korean President Moon Jae-in, Lawmakers from the neighboring states were thought to be negotiating the details of a joint statement that could outline an end to the military conflict between the two countries. Pyongyang and Seoul have technically been at war since the 1950 through 1953 Korean conflict ended with a truce and not a peace treaty. Yeah, which is why you have something called the DMZ, or the demilitarized zone, which is a zone where there is no fighting. Okay. North and South Korea are in. That's where a lot of the times they meet. They meet and they talk right there in the DMZ, the demilitarized zone. North and South Korea are in talks to announce a permanent end to the officially declared military conflict between the two countries. Daily newspaper Munhwa Libo reported Tuesday, citing an unnamed South Korean official. Ahead of a summit next week between North Korean Premier Kim Jong-un and South Korean President Moon Jae-in, lawmakers from the neighboring states were thought to be negotiating the details of a joint statement that could outline an end to the confrontation. A successful summit between the Koreas later this month could help pave the way for a meeting between Kim and President Donald Trump. The U.S. president and North Korean leader are poised to hold talks in late May or June, according to the Korean Central Network. Yeah, and this is bad for the so-called white man, because China has negotiations in dealings with North Korea as well as Russia. And then America's ally has been traditionally who? The South Koreans. All right, they're more so-called westernized, meaning they're Edomites. They take on the ways of the so-called white man. Whereas the North Koreans, they're more akin to their ancient way of living, their whole heathenistic Moabite way of living. And I got another one. U.S. uses Pakistan like tissue paper, Imran Khan. Cricketer turned politician Imran Khan has said the U.S. uses Pakistan like a tissue paper. For Pakistan, unfortunately, the economic situation is not that strong right now. The country is actually going through an economic crisis. So American sanctions would be damaging. But I mean, is this justice? Is it fair? Is this how the U.S. would use a country like a tissue paper, and when it thinks it doesn't need it anymore, it just casts it away? I think it's very immoral. The Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf chairman's statement came in response to a question regarding how damaging and dangerous it would be for Pakistan to be placed on the gray list of the Financial Action Task Force. Speaking about the U.S. accusing Islamabad of supporting terrorism, which Islamabad, that's the capital of Pakistan, Imran said, I think it's very unfair to Pakistan, a country that participated in the U.S. war, and I repeat, a country that had nothing to do with 9/11, and a country that lost more people than any other country. I mean, Pakistan lost more human beings, almost 70,000 dead. Vast number of them were handicapped because of bomb blasts, for helping the Americans, for joining the American war, and it brought the heaviest costs. And at the end, the Americans today blame Pakistan and put sanctions against it. I think this is the greatest travesty of justice. I think, it is something which is inconceivable that the U.S. would blame Pakistan for its failure in Afghanistan. When asked why the Pakistani defense minister is asking the U.S. to reconsider a cut of billions of dollars in security aid as ordered by President Trump, my point of view is that this American aid has been very costly for Pakistan. For getting whatever aid we did get in these 15 years, the damage done to Pakistan and participating the U.S. war on terror has led to almost 70,000 people dead. It has devastated our tribal areas. The border areas, we have half of the population. We're talking about 3 to 4 million people who are internally displaced. And the loss of the economy is about $100 billion. So this small aid has been very costly. And the lesson learned from Pakistan's point of view is to never fight someone else's war. And people like us have always opposed it. Posed with the question if Pakistan should show actual accounting or if the U.S. should put forth proof of its statement that anywhere from 50 to 70% of the aid sent to Pakistan was misspent, wasted on kickbacks, bribes, or even stolen, Imran said the aid given in proportion to the damage done in Pakistan by participating in the U.S. war, there is no comparison. The aid was what? They say about $20 billion, maybe $25 billion. Pakistan has lost over $100 billion. Economy suffered. Investment suffered. The damage done through terrorism meant that foreign investors won't come into Pakistan. Tourism collapsed in this country. Even today, foreign cricket teams don't come to play in Pakistan. So this country took a heavy punishment by participating in that war. And as I said, the money coming from that aid is a small pittance compared to what it costs to people of Pakistan. Imran absolutely agreed with Pakistan's foreign minister that the U.S. has turned Islamabad into a whipping boy to distract from its failures in Afghanistan. Agreeing that Washington is looking to single out Pakistan to deter criticism, the PTI chief said, just look at the facts. At one point, there were 150,000 NATO troops in Afghanistan, and then the Afghan army is anything between 250,000 to 300,000. So you're talking about almost 500,000 armed forces in Afghanistan. And what the U.S. blames Pakistan for is that 2,000 or 3,000 insurgents come from Pakistan to Afghanistan are the reason why they could not win the war in Afghanistan. U.S. expects Pakistan to win the war they've badly lost in Afghanistan. Firstly, what would the U.S. do to be on a collision course with Pakistan? The maximum leverage that the U.S. has is to stop the aid. And, Pakistan should try everything to keep the U.S. happy, he said when asked if the drop in American aid be countered by deals of Pakistan's newest friends like China or Saudi Arabia. But the problem is that the U.S. expects Pakistan, the message it has made in Afghanistan, to somehow win the war which they badly lost in Afghanistan. And when I say lost, I mean they haven't won. All the Taliban have to do to win the war is not to lose. So what the U.S. expects Pakistan to do is what it has not been able to do to succeed in Afghanistan. And clearly, Pakistan has limitations. And if Pakistan now, what they want to do is take actions against these Taliban groups supposedly operating from Pakistan, well, then they should tell us where these groups are. They're talking about the Haqqani network. At its peak, the Haqqani network would have maximum 2,000 to 2,500 men in Afghanistan. That surely cannot be the reason why they've lost and have not been able to win for 16 years, he said. Suggesting that the U.S. will have to change its strategy in Afghanistan, he said, what I feel is that the American policy of military actions, collateral damage, I don't know whether you have seen in Kunduz, the bomb in Madrasa killed 100 children. Now that 100 children killed by the American bomb means that this will raise hatred in Afghanistan, and hatred means more recruits. And so it's an ongoing circle, collateral damage, hatred, more recruits, and an ongoing war. So the answer is that the U.S. has to change its strategy, and that's going towards dialogue and political solution. I mean, there was no Al-Qaeda in Pakistan. There were no militant Taliban in Pakistan, and we didn't have the terrorism. We had sectarian terrorism, but that was just nothing compared to what happened once we joined the U.S. war on terror after 9/11. And then we had a spat of suicide bombings, which was bigger than any other country. I mean, Pakistan suffered the sort of terrorism which no other country suffered. And there was a point in 2010 to 2011 when people were worried about the future of the country. We were falling apart. So it was thanks to the security forces that they eventually took this terrorism under control, which was because we were considered collaborators with the Americans. So all the anti-Americanism turned against Pakistan. People were attacking Pakistani security forces because they thought we were collaborating with the U.S. So the brunt of the anger against the U.S. was borne by Pakistan. Slamming the U.S. president for applauding India's role in the war on terror while blaming Pakistan for the U.S. not winning in Afghanistan and supporting terrorism, the chief said, now this is exactly what India says about Pakistan. And so therefore, it was extremely hurtful for people of this country. They participated in the war that was not Pakistan's war. Let me jump down a little bit, because this is a lot. Damn, hold on, Salakia. Okay. Yeah, that's pretty much it, because then he's going into India. All right, but this is Sirach 19 and 26. There is a wicked man that hangeth down his head sadly, but inwardly he is full of deceit, casting down his countenance and making as if he heard not. Where he is not known, he will do thee a mischief before thou be aware. And that's the so-called white man. Okay, he does something, he acts like he's sorry for it. I'm sorry, this was collateral damage. We didn't mean to hurt anybody. We didn't mean, for casualties to be, to be inflicted. But inwardly, he's full of deceit. That was his purpose the whole time, to destabilize that country. Casting down his countenance and making as if he heard not. Where he is not known, he will do thee a mischief before thou be aware. Yeah, and them Pakistanis didn't think that mischief will come upon them. Okay, they seen what the so-called white man has done to us and these other countries, yet they thought that they were exempt. Like they thought, okay, because we're helping them out, we'll be good. Nah, but he did you a mischief before you was aware that he's the same devil to everybody, man. And if for want of power he be hindered from sinning, yet when he findeth opportunity, he will do evil. See? Yeah, so he wanted power, so he was, he was acting cool with the Pakistanis. Yeah, we need you in this war on terrorism. Meanwhile, he's funding the terrorists. Okay, the so-called white man is the terrorist, man. And that's why the Pakistanis, they're expressing that they pretty much they're better off not rocking with America. Which is why the scriptures say this. Surah 12 and 10, never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. Yeah, and the so-called white man, he's the enemy of all these nations, man. Yet you see a Jake with an afro, or you see a Jake on the street, and he's the worst thing on earth. That Jake, he's not affecting your day-to-day life. Okay, he's not implementing policies that are destroying your generation and the generations to come, or taking out the infrastructure. They thought, he said 2010, 2011, they didn't think that the country was going to be in existence anymore. Why? Because they associated Pakistan with America. They hate America so much they couldn't get to America, they get to Pakistan. See, that's what happens when you rock with the so-called white man. Though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him, and thou shalt be unto him as if thou hast wiped a looking glass, and thou shalt know that his rust have not been altogether wiped away. Yeah, that's Esau, man. And these other nations are waking up to the fact that he's the enemy. Okay. This is Nahum 3 and 19. There is no healing of thy bruise. Thy wound is grievous. All that hear the bruit of thee shall clap the hands over thee. For upon whom have not thy wickedness passed continually? And we just read an example right here, man, with Pakistan. The wickedness of the so-called white man has passed upon them continually. All right, joining as an ally to America puts your country and your livelihood in jeopardy. Because he's only about himself. All right, the so-called white man. In particular, the so-called white man over here, to the point where even Germany don't even want to join with your ass no more, man. And the other European allies, they're hesitant. And what's happening is these nations, they're getting bold, man. This is Isaiah chapter 14. Verse 10, all they shall speak and say unto thee, art thou also become weak as we? Art thou become like unto us? Thy pomp is brought down to the grave, and the noise of thy vows. The worm is spread under thee, and the worms cover thee. Yeah, see, so all these other nations, they're looking at you as if you're an equal now. You're looking vulnerable. They're saying, what, are you weak like unto us? Because now you need our help. Okay, now you need us to foot the bill more. Okay, now your nation is suffering from epidemics. Okay, now your people are dying at a rapid rate, man. And these nations, they're seeing that, and they're breaking away from your hegemony. Okay, they that ate your bread, because Pakistan and South Korea, they were once allies. Now look, they're breaking away from you. Okay, they're Pakistan, they're making deals with Russia and China, and you see South Korea. They about to link back up with North Korea. The Korea's about to be united. And then what's going to happen? They're not going to rock with America. They're going to rock with Russia, China. That's the spirit that's out here right now. This is Obadiah verse 7. All the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. Yeah, and Pakistan was confederate with you with this war against terrorism. The men that are at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. Yeah, because Pakistan, they have nuclear technology. And guess what? They're going to shoot it over here. Scriptures tell you that all they that bend the bow shoot at her, spare no arrows. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. There is none understanding in him. And what does it mean when it says they that eat thy bread? Those that took your aid. And now that Trump is running this thing like a business, he's like, look, we need to have cost cutting measures. That's what they call it in business, cost cutting measures. Okay, we're in the red, so we need to shore up the company. He cutting off that aid, man. And so now these countries, they don't have no type of allegiance to you, man, because they already was looking at you some type of way because of this quote unquote collateral damage that you cause in a country. And now you're not even giving them no money. So what need they to have any type of alliance with you, man? Now Esau wants you to foot the bill, man. Oh, it needs more responsibilities on you. It can't be us to fight terrorism. You damn devil. Okay, you brought the terrorism in the region, and you contracted them to get on board, and now you want them to do the work. You're crazy, man. Hey, but that's it, man. You so-called white people, you're done. You're exposed. And you niggas, man, you niggas are horrible. You're unreasonable. You coming out with these wild, wacky, tacky doctrines because you really want the distraction. You really want distraction. You want focus to be turned away from the fact that America's being destroyed, and you want all the attention on you. Why? Because you're nothing but a vessel for Satan, man. You're an adversary of the Heavenly Father, and you're going to be destroyed as such. So hopefully it was edifying to the elect. All praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, Ba'Shem Rakakwadash, and death to America.
First and foremost, I'd like to give all praise to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone. And shout out to Yakim that's out there on the four corners of the earth proclaiming this truth. Ba'Shem Rakakadash. And so here we are, another article here I pulled up. No collusion, redacted U.S. House report on Russia released officially clears Trump document. So, all this bullshit, which is just smoke and mirrors about the so-called Russian collusion with the Donald Trump campaign, which we know that the Illuminati, the Israeli state, if you will, Amalek wanted him in there, so there was no collusion and all that. This is just a bunch of crap, just like the red and the blue, the Democrats versus Republicans. We're past all that horse shit anyways, because we're not even Americans. We're Israelites, New era. No more war. 2 Koreans agree on complete denuclearization. Well, like everything else, though, you know as well as I do that all these countries are going to come against the whore Babylon the Great. A new era of peace beginning, according to a declaration signed by the leaders of North and South Korea after first meeting in over a decade. Both nations are aiming to completely denuclearize the Korean peninsula. We know that this is never going to happen because, of course, the United States is never going to stop putting their nose into shit that doesn't belong there. They have no business over there, but, the United States always puts its fucking, terrorists. They're terrorizing all the countries, Alright, here's more. Give it a second to load. Shalom. Four dead, 833 injured as Israeli Defense Forces clash with Great Return protesters. Palestinian Health Ministry. And again, the most of these people ever have is rockets, but that doesn't stop Amalek from using their military might, which their strong arm has always been the United States. Protesters have gathered along the Gaza border as Great March of Return demonstrations enter their 5th week. At least 42 Palestinians, including 2 journalists, have been killed, and thousands injured since the protests began. Okay, there's more. Hold up this article. As you can see, a lot's happened over the weekend. UN envoy to Syria pressed to criticize Astana peace talks, Lavrov. Russia, Iran, Turkey will resist any attempts to divide Syria and undermine a peaceful solution to the crisis, Sergei Lavrov said, while casting doubt on the reasons behind the recent UN criticism of the Astana process. UN Special Envoy to Syria, Stefan de Mistura, is likely to receive pressure from other parties who try to make him criticize the Moscow spearheaded peace efforts in Syria, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said. So again, they already have a solution to the problem. Get rid of the terrorists and get rid of the United States from being in there, but the United States is never going to leave Syria because of the strong arm of Amalek. Okay, so getting into the main part that's happening over there. Explosions heard in Hama and Aleppo, Syria, due to possible airstrike. And, well, you've already seen my follow-ups to these, that it was an Israeli attack that's officially out. So here's another article. Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman said that the Palestinians should either accept peace propaganda or shut up, Israeli media reported. Well, you know that Saudi Arabia is just another province of the Israeli state. You may as well just call it another state. Okay, and this is from Syrian Girl. Syria's under attack. It doesn't matter if once a day or once a month. Wake up, people. The United States and Israeli state are on the side of Al-Qaeda and ISIS. Clearly, no one can stop them but you, the people. Well, we know that what's going to eventually take place anyways. When Damascus becomes a ruinous heap, sadly. Sadly for them, that is. Because, of course, it's the Most High that stirred them in the hearts to do this. Now this thing's really fucking struggling, so, give me a minute here. Fucking piece of shit. Goddamn Esau. Oh yeah, Alex Jones is still, pretty much, gonna lead, he definitely speaks against gun control and everything, but, as if you have a say-so in this piece of shit, America, I stopped believing in America a long time ago. Alright, this thing's just gonna keep on struggling. Why don't I just, God damn. Alright, hold on a second. Alright, Shalom, this is what I really wanted to get to. Suspected Israeli missile attack wipes out small town in Aleppo. And here's some photos. So, they pretty much wiped out a town because, of course, Israeli state just shoots whenever. A suspected Israeli missile strike against the Syrian government forces and their allies destroyed much of a small town in the Aleppo governorate last night. According to local reports, a suspected Israeli missile struck Al-Malqa in the Aleppo countryside, destroying several buildings inside this town located near the Nahad military airport. As shown in one of the photos below, the remnant of a missile that appears to be a glide bomb struck a building in Al-Malqa, indicating that it may have been dropped from a warplane. A source in Damascus told Al-Masdar News that this morning that it was the Israeli Air Force that carried out this attack. The latter would have most likely used their F-35 jet, as the Syrian air defense cannot detect them. So yeah, F-35. So here's another picture of that. So they actually wiped out an entire town. This is getting a lot more, heated up. And that's, why we have to stay on the watch of these things. Because, of course, they're not going to tell you this in the mainstream. They won't even show you the footage of this. Because we know that the Israeli state really runs the media. See, look at that. This is English, of course, so you know that it's Israeli state. Those are American fucking missiles. So, that's a follow-up to everything. This thing's escalating. Try to get some scriptures here. Shalom. And so, I'm just going to read out of Joel chapter 3, verse 9. Proclaim this among the nations. Prepare for war. Wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. And that's what's happening now, Let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. And that's what's happening. All these, so-called third world countries, these weak countries are standing up to the whore, Babylon the Great. America, to where, the American U.S.-led coalition against Syria really didn't do anything. So now Amalek, the least of their flock, is drawing them out as they are attacking Syria on their own without united socialist states behind them. Assemble and come, all you nations, and gather together all around. 'cause you're mighty ones to go down, O Yahweh. Let the nations be wakened and come up to the valley of Yehoshaphat, which is right there in Syria, which is the valley of Yahweh's judgment. For there I will sit to judge all the surrounding nations, which includes Syria, Iraq, Turkey, all them places, of course, Israeli state, Amalek. Put in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come down, for the wine press is full, the vats overflow, for their wickedness is great. Multitudes, multitudes in the valley of decision. For the day of Yahweh is near, in the valley of decision. The sun and the moon will grow dark, and the stars will diminish their brightness. The Lord will roar from Zion, which we are Zion, we the elect of Israel, and utter his voice from Jerusalem, where that new Jerusalem that will eventually be come down with Yahweh Shai to judge this place. Heavens and earth will shake, but the Lord will be a shelter for his people and the strength of the children of Israel. So again, you know that what's happening here is that this is a walls of Jericho effect. First, the nations fight each other. Our enemies are fighting each other. So, and it's the Most High that's doing this in the valley right there. He's judging the nations, and he's getting the best of them. Amalek, the Israeli state, is the main of all the wicked people, because they have stolen our identity and portrayed themselves as the Jews. So they are going to be the main ones judged, and they're the ones that are drawing Esau out. The so-called white man just can't stop, supporting Israeli state, because it's indoctrinated into their stretch Christianity that you got to support Israeli state, support them Jews, which they're fake Jews. They're not the real ones. They don't even match the biblical description at all. And also keep this in mind, though, that look at the colors of the people that are out there. Darker skin. You look at Syrians, you look at Lebanese, you look at, and that's really just Ishmael and Syrians. But you look at their darker skin. Well, what people would be there? That would match what they look like. Blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans. But you see, we were pretty much driven out of the land. The northern kingdom fled during the Assyrian Empire, and the southern kingdom was eventually taken out as well, which is why we fled into the mountains of the Sahara deserts, when Jerusalem was captured in 70 AD. So you can see, that the Most High is waking up his prophets, and we're proclaiming this, and we're seeing this unfold. This being the year of prophecy, we're going to see a lot more. So I hope this has been edifying, and shalom.
Hello, this is Kevork Almasyan of Syriana Analysis. Today I'm receiving some important news from Syria, especially from the eastern side of Syria and particularly from Al-Hasakeh city. So we all know that there is an American base in the Limestone resort near the Western Dome in the western suburbs of Hasakeh on the highway of Aleppo and Hasakeh. But in the last 2 days, the Syrian army was tracing the movement or the incoming of French armored vehicles in this airbase. This is an alarming news for several reasons. First of all, France participated in the aggression against Syria a few days ago. And above all, the American President Donald Trump was saying that he will withdraw his forces from Syria, but obviously, even if he partially withdrew his forces from Syria, there will be another country filling this vacuum for him, and it seems that the French are ready to fill this vacuum in that area, and the Saudis are going to pay the money for the staying of these troops. And this is no more a hidden secret, because the Western officials were saying that the Saudis are ready to pay for them.
Saudi Arabia is very interested in our decision. And I said, well, you want us to say maybe you're going to have to pay.
So basically, Donald Trump and Macron, they turned their armies into mercenaries because they are getting the money from the Gulf countries in order to do the dirty business of the Saudis in Syria. However, what we can also trace on the ground is an increasing propaganda or media reports coming from the followers and the supporters, sympathizers, and the journalists of the Syrian Democratic Forces. The Syrian Democratic Forces are mainly consisting of the Kurdish militias, and they are promoting the idea that the French were for a long time they were leading the operations underground against ISIS in eastern Syria, and by doing so they are trying to pave the way for the incoming troops, French troops, to Syria. Unfortunately, this move by the French government came, as I mentioned, after the aggression on Syria, and two, after the statement of Macron that instead of withdrawing from Syria, we have to stay there and build a new Syria for us. We have to remind Monsieur Macron that it is 2018 and it's not the 20th century. It's not the era of the French mandate on Syria. Syria is an independent country, and the French troops in Syria will be considered as French occupation forces. So therefore, my message to the French people here is, those who are following my channel, that any soldier, any French soldier on Syrian territories will be considered as an occupation forces, and under international law, the people of Syria and the Syrian army or other affiliated groups, they have the legal right to resist the French troops. So what are you doing regarding this, and did the French government ask your opinion about this operation? Because you are a democracy, and in France there should be a discussion in the parliament and a public discussion, and the French people should give their consent for it. And I'm sure 100% that the majority of the French people will not accept sending their French troops to Syria. And what for? Why the French soldiers are coming to Syria? I believe the Americans will not completely leave the eastern side of Syria. Instead, they will focus their efforts on securing the oil fields and the gas fields in the eastern shores of the Euphrates, and to impose their monopoly on them and deprive Syria from these gas and oil fields. On the other hand, the French will also make sure that the Kurdish militias would always have an upper hand in that area and try to impose the solution that they were promoting for a long time, which is the federalization of Syria. Look, the federal systems are not bad, but in Syria we have to take into consideration that Syria at the moment, there are a lot of social problems also in Syria. So the federal system, by giving the Kurds a special status in Syria, that will encourage other communities to ask for similar things, and if we do so, that means Syria would be divided into 20 different cantons, and this is something that we refuse. I'm Syrian and I'm from Armenian origins, but I insist on a centralized state on a political level. On the administrative level, this could be under discussion, but on a political level and strategic level and in military terms, Syria should and must stay united. Any other solution, like the federalization, will be the first step towards the division of Syria. The second point here is what will the Syrians do in this regard? I will be very honest. I don't think the Syrians will go into direct war with the Americans or the French. This is not the intention of the Syrian government, and at the moment the priority is to destroy the terrorist organizations in Syria, especially now in the suburbs of Homs, in eastern Kalamun, in Yarmouk. ISIS is still in Yarmouk and in Hajar al-Aswad, in Daraa. In my opinion, Iran, the Popular Mobilization Forces of Iraq, Hezbollah, and the Syrian troops will coordinate more to put in strategy in order to make life hard for the American and the French troops, and maybe the British troops might also come later. This could be one of the options. The other option is the Popular Mobilization Forces would come from the area of Bukamal from Iraq into the Bukamal, and also continue more and more towards the north eastern part of Syria, and until that time the Syrian army might mobilize their forces also to help them or to support them. But in my opinion, I don't think there would be direct confrontation, but the Syrians are, as I mentioned, able to support popular resistance movements, or to create resistance movements within and among the areas that the Americans and the French are controlling. This could be one of the options. I'm just speculating. There is no clear option, let's say. But the most important thing here, that why I am doing this video now, is to ask the French people to demand their government to withdraw from Syria, because we don't want to have direct confrontation with any French forces, neither in Syria nor elsewhere in the region or outside the region. We want to keep our friendly relationship with the French people and the French communities, and this conflict is the last thing that the Syrians want, whether it's with the French or with the Americans. I also want you to practice pressure on your own government, on your own representatives, those you have voted in the parliament. You have to make calls, you have to send them emails, you have to tag them, you have to mention their names on social media, you have to do efforts in the media and through phone calls, emails, etc., asking them why the French troops are in Syria, what purpose have these French troops have in Syria, and two, did they get the permission of the Syrian government? No. Did they get any permission from the UN Security Council? No. That means their presence in Syria is illegal, and any kind of resistance against them would not be an offensive against French or American troops, but rather a resistance of these troops. Till the moment, we don't have 100% concrete proof for their existence, but this is information coming from Syria. And that's why I wanted to do this video, to shed light on this important issue, because we might discuss later in the coming weeks a lot, and how things will develop in the eastern side of Syria. But obviously and unfortunately, it seems that the Western governments are not going to leave Syria alone, and their rhetoric and escalation of the conflict is remaining the same. And even if Syrians liberated their territories from the terrorist organizations, that means after that they might have to deal with another kind of occupation, which is a direct occupation with superpowers such as the Americans and the French and maybe the British. Let's see what would be also the reaction of the Russians. At that time, I'm not 100% sure that the Russians have interest in having direct confrontations also with these superpowers. So that's why I mentioned Iran and Hezbollah as main players that could have a big role in drawing the future of eastern Syria. So that was all for today. I tried to clarify several things very fast, and I want to mention one thing, and I really want to apologize from anyone who would be insulted from the map behind me, because there are many mistakes in this map. I bought this from Amazon, and there are a lot of mistakes in it. So if there are mistakes in India, I'm receiving emails from my Indian friends telling me that there is a huge mistake in the borders of Kashmir and etc. Also receiving emails from other nationalities telling me that the borders of their country is wrong. I sincerely apologize for you guys. This doesn't represent my political opinions or anything else. This is just a decoration I wanted to do in my own room, and unfortunately, after I bought it from Amazon, it looks good as a decoration, but as a content, there are a lot of mistakes. So I apologize for you all, and I will try to find a better one, and one that doesn't include a lot of mistakes. So that was all. I'm Kevork Almasyan of Syrian Analysis, and see you next time.
Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praise to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakal Kadash, and want to give all praises also to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, who have been teaching this truth with sincerity. As I'm looking at more headlines here, Bashar al-Assad meets with a Russian delegation after the recent U.S.-led airstrikes. So that's one of the highlights here, and unlike the last video, I think I have a way I could make those videos play, but nonetheless, though. So you can see Bashar al-Assad about to meet there. And you can best believe Russia's not going to let this go unpunished. So this will not be left unpunished, you know. And, so there's U.S. and U.K. And France hit Syria after an alleged chemical weapons attack. Of course, videos break it up here, but I think I have a way of getting them to play, you know, on something that's just not high frequency. Anyhow, so you can see them there meeting. Of course, this was all a fabrication. You can see the Syrians gathering in support of Bashar al-Assad, because pretty much they had thwarted the enemy's attack this weekend, and I'll show you how that was. Alright, so there's that going on, and then I got some other things here. Oh, remember how I told you that they were going to do a false flag event? Well, check this one out. ISIS threatens to bomb New York subway in new propaganda poster. So again, they want to try to convince you that the ISIS group is still there and that they need to do more airstrikes against ISIS in Syria. You know, so that's where they're going with this. You know, because they're going to do a false flag in New York. They're teleprompting you. They're telling you their vision, which is what television is. They tell you their vision. A new propaganda poster uploaded to the messaging platform of Israeli state, because that's what it really is. Formerly, ISIS has threatened to bomb New York City subway. So we know this is a Mossad planned operation, false flag, for the next strikes in Syria. The poster shows a man dressed as a tourist wearing a rucksack into New York's High Street Brooklyn Bridge subway station. A bomb with a timer is placed on the ground behind him. You will not expect where we will attack. So again, they're teleprompting you that there's going to be a false flag in New York or somewhere else. You know, they just because they put that poster up there, they want you to make believe that Assad didn't get rid of the terrorists, right? And of course, you know, now that the United States has been the Air Force for ISIS, they have more grounds now, you know. So there was something else up here that I thought was interesting. Yeah, even Alex Jones is reporting about the claims of irrefutable feud evidence Syrian chemical weapons attack was a staged event. You know, so he is reporting on that. I thought there was something else that was interesting here. That's still up here. Yeah. This is from Syrian Girl. We heard that Trump didn't eat the chocolate cake while bombing Syria this time, unlike last year, so he made a cake full of U.S. missiles shot down. Taste the failure. So we can even zoom in on that. I think this is kind of funny. You know. Because remember what I said before, it was a complete failure. Anyhow, I think I can now try to get the video, so I'm going to try to get the video of Rupley, that I saw, where these missiles were failing. Okay, Shalom, I just found it, but here's some of the footage of these missiles being shot down by Russian air defenses. This is a complete failure. So what they're going to try to do is stage another false flag, as I had already spoken of in previous videos, to convince you that the ISIS group is there. But we, the elect, we're not falling for this shit. Alright, I'll get something else here, because this kingdom is definitely divided against itself. And here's another tweet. White helmets didn't listen to him because they all live in California, where they shoot their stage scenes for Netflix documentaries. No white helmet lives in Syria. So, again, you know as well as I do that they don't even live in Syria. The White Helmets is nothing more than a Hollywood production, just like I had stated before. Shalom. Okay, Shalom, there's more headlines here. Western hawks come to roost in Syria, but will Trump torpedo the coalition? Well, of course he's going to say, yeah, we need a coalition in Syria, so there won't be any more chemical weapons used, right? Grasping tensions causes bail in Syria. Major Western powers appear anxious for a military showdown, but many allies have declined to join the war party. Will others follow? What is it about springtime that brings out the worst side of the West's neo-conservative pro-war faction? Well, it's the warring faction of Esau, the so-called white man who loves destruction. He's a warmonger. War is in his heart, and yeah, he seems to want to bring it out more so than, pretty much than anyone else. On March 20, 2003, a coalition made up of the U.S., UK, Australia, and Poland opened a military campaign against Iraq. On March 19, 2011, the U.S., UK, France led a NATO charge attack against Libya. And now here we are in early April, and the usual suspects are rearing their ugly heads for yet another regime change, this time in Syria. So just like AMTV told you, just like we had brought it out before, that pretty much what's happening is, of course, this place is divided against itself. The alternative media believes that they can stop this, but there's no stopping this. This is what Esau is made for. Pretty much this thing's going to escalate. Yeah, I'm just scrolling down here a little bit. I don't see anything newer. These are old here, but pretty much though, what they did attack was a medical facility, but they want to call it research lab, science research lab. All right, let me get some scriptures. Matthew chapter 12, verse 25. Knowing their thoughts, he said unto them, every kingdom divided itself is laid waste, and no city or house divided against itself will stand. And if Satan casts out Satan, he is divided against himself. How then will his kingdom stand? And we are seeing this big time, with the opposition here in Babylon the Great, and all around the world. They're burning the flag. I threw away the flags a long time ago. I don't have anything that's pro-America because I hate this fucking place. And that was even before I came into this truth, when I just realized, man, I ain't a part of this. Fuck this place. Fuck America. So, this place will be laid waste, and that's what the scriptures tell us over and over again, is that this city shall become desolate. They shall hate the whore and burn her with fire. And, there's protests all over. I'll get you some of them so you can see some of this shit. It's amazing. And this is a great time to rejoice. We're just kicking back and relaxing while all these other Edomites are losing control. Alex Jones didn't just lose control in that one part, but he is losing control altogether because he thought he was going to be able to use InfoWars to try and stop this. He thought that Donald Trump was going to try to stop this, and he's still trying to hold on to stretch Christianity, and that is dead. Hold on, let me show you this. Shalom, it looks like I did find better footage of these defenses, so we'll look at that, and we'll see the protests from all around the world over this. Guaranteed, this kingdom of Esau, the so-called white man, is not going to stand much longer. It is divided against itself. See, there we go, taken out. And this is what I saw in Rupley. Rupley had probably the best coverage, even better than the Syria news coverage, which I was surprised about that, but they just happen to have a better camera angle. But of course, we know that Rupley is in Syria, so you can see though that, and then there's the plumes of smoke where it got shot out. I had pretty much watched this all the way till it became morning time there in Damascus. Pretty much they held off the enemy's attacks. Yes, there were places hit, but not as severe if all of them made their targets. So they're gearing up for the next false flag. Make no mistake about it, and they're going to try to convince you that ISIS did these things, and so that way they can do a coalition against ISIS, which is bullshit. So, as you can tell, though, they pretty much, are saying long live Assad, And, of course, like everything else, though, we know that this will escalate.
What do you say to that?
I mean, since 2013, they've been saying the same. In Syria, they've been, Syria is not just a conflict, it's so many groups involved. So these airstrikes, they might look limited to them, but...
Alright, well, Esau's fucking with this because they're trying to clean up the internet of the protests, but there's been protests all around the world, Shalom, and I just, the person said that it's prolonging the war. He's breaking up the stream because he doesn't want this on there. So, fuck Esau. We already know that pretty much your kingdom's about to fall. They are against you, and you're only the 1%, Amalek, and your kingdom's about to be destroyed. And with that, I'm going to say, Brakatah.
These strikes were launched without an...
First and foremost, I'd like to give all praise to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahshai, Ba'Shem Rakal Kadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who are teaching this truth and sincerity. And shout out to Akim that's going out here on the four quarters of the earth. Proclaim this truth, risking your lives to do so. And so we're just going to get right into this because what's going on right now is, as you can see though, that World War III has been happening over a period of time, but certain jumps have made. It was projected a long time ago that they would invade 7 countries, and you can see though that all 7 now, their final stop was Iran. Persia. And so we know that Amalek, the least of their flock, Benjamin, not a Jew, is now provocating war against Iran by doing his bullshit fear-mongering, oh no, Iran's got a nuclear weapon, so the false prophet, Stretch Christianity, is going to say, oh no, we got to support Israel, and we got to do this, which we know that they're not the real Jews, because the real Jews are you so-called Negroes, which, in particular, Benjamin, Levi, and Judah, the southern kingdom, are the real Jews. But you see, the so-called white man has lied about who we are, and has changed our images and put his up. I mean, we know this is all part of the false prophet, part of, in Revelation, that false prophet, which we know is Esau, the so-called white man, would deceive the whole world. He would go out into the four quarters of the earth and deceive them, and so he only has that short period of time. I mean, we're coming to near the end of that, where we're now, Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai Ba'Shem Rakah Kadash is waking us up as to who we are, his hopeful elect, so we can go out there and proclaim this truth, so that way the kingdom can come here on earth as it is in heaven, because heaven means kingdom, so therefore it will come here, and that kingdom to come is when he gathers us up in a cloud. That cloud is referencing to the chariots, the main chariot known as the flying roll. And when he gathers us up from the four corners of the earth, as the nuclear bombs go off. But we're going to be tested. Jacob's trouble is right around the corner, because you already know, we've been talking about the collapse of the system. And 3 weeks from now, those tariffs are going to hit. China has slapped bitch America with tariffs also. And so that's going to affect the prices of everything. Kool-Aid that might have been 10 cents a packet, now they're charging 14 cents a packet. Okay, that's not much of an increase, but certain other Kool-Aids are 25 cents a packet, Shit like that's going to change, real soon, where, man, you just talk about eggs, eggs are already expensive enough, okay? But it'll get to the point that a dozen eggs might cost you $9 or $10. Gallon of milk might cost you $8 or $9. Look at the fucking price of cigarettes. I mean, fucking cigarettes used to be $2 a pack back when I used to smoke. Fucking $8 or $9 for a fucking pack of cigarettes? What the fuck, But you see, that's a so-called white man for you. His system is collapsing, and so driving the prices up. Not that I encourage people to smoke, it's definitely something that you got to repent of, just like eating pork. You got to repent of that. You got to repent of eating all these other foods. But the devil, the so-called white man, tells you that it was okay to do all that. It was okay to break the laws, that the law has been done away with. And so we know that this is not true. But that's what the beast, which is the infrastructure, the military-industrial complex, and the 10 horns out of that shall hate the whore, and we can see that happening. Because we know that Benjamin, not a Jew, the least of the flock, is telling the whore, Babylon the Great, to pull out of the Iran nuclear deal, and so that in itself is going to cause the 10 horns to hate the whore. And we can see that happening as, Benjamin, not a Jew, is drawing America into that war, which is the whole reason for the bombings. But aside from all that, the real reason they want this is because they're going to try to save their petrodollar, because the petro-yuan is coming up. Eventually, the petro-yuan will be the #1 currency, making the petrodollar #2 currency. And so if it becomes #2, well, you know that everything over here is nothing more than paper money. It's funny money, because they haven't backed shit up at all, It's not backed with anything. It's just borrowing, It's lending, If you want to get anything, you have to have what you call credit. It's a whole lending system. And this Ponzi scheme is about to come to its halt. That's why the push for war. But the war costs money, And so even more part of the financial collapse, so another brother had already reported Subway to close 500 of their restaurants here, I don't know if that's going to hit Reading or not, but we have 4 over here. But Subway is a pretty big place, but they're going to shut down 500. That's a lot. You know, when you look at the bigger scale, because look at the downsides of Sears Kmart, you know. And Toys R Us thought that they would be able to shut down businesses, but eventually it went out completely. It was gone, you know. But as these tariffs hit, and the more they spend on this war, the more places get shut down, because that's part of what makes up America, Babylon the Great, is its equities, its industries. So if they don't have that industry and they don't have those shippers anymore, because losing Sears, Kmart, and Toys R Us is part of the bigger shipping thing, you know, what makes America known for its imports. Sorry if the wind is affecting this recording, but you know, I'm out here, you know, and it's a windy day here in Reading. But I'm going to read some scripture now. As you know that the things of Esau are being discovered, you know, that you know, he's being exposed by the elite. You know, everybody knows who the Illuminati is. That's no longer hidden information, no longer a secret. And so I'm going to read out of Obadiah in verse 6. How are the things of Esau searched out? How are his hidden things sought up? You know, he's being revealed on everything. You know, almost every time he tries to do a false flag, it's already reported that this is a false flag. All the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee, that they eat thy bread, have laid a wound under thee. There is none understanding in him. You know, it's talking about you Edomites, you know. Shall I not in the day, saith Yahweh, even destroy the wise men out of Edom? You know, all these professors and all that. You know, you just had that dude in the wheelchair. He just died, you know. He had all this knowledge and all that, but he couldn't even save himself with this so-called knowledge. The wisest men out of Edom, and the understanding out of the mount of Esau. So, you know, they're finding out that, hey man, something's not adding up right. Wait a minute, how can those be the real Jews of the Bible if they're pushing the mark of the beast, the RFID implant? A lot of leaders like Rick Wiles of True News, you know, which is a Christian radio show, is like, how can they be the Jews of the Bible if they're pushing the mark of the beast? Starting to question things. So, you know, it's coming out. And the mighty men, O Teman, shall be dismayed. To the end of every mount of Esau may be cut off by slaughter. You know, because of what they did to us. For thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever. You know, and that's when finally, you know, Esau's bloodline is cut off. We're going to cut him off at the very end. How we're going to do that? Quite simply put, you know, when he goes back into slavery, and he will this time, we're going to stop him from breeding. He's not going to be able to breed anymore, Edomites. After a while, he will no longer be able to breed, so he can't create. So his seed will be cut off, just like it says. And then, of course, the women will be our slaves, so they're going to rebirth Israelites, you know. So the Edomite race will no longer exist. It'll be total genocide, because that's what he tried to do to us. In that day thou stoodest on the other side, in the day that the strangers carried away captive his forces, and foreigners enter into his gates, and cast lots upon Jerusalem. Even thou wast as one of them, you know. And that's what they did when they put us in slavery and brought us over here to America, Babylon the Great. But thou shouldest not have looked on the day of thy brother, in the day that he became a stranger. Neither shouldest thou have rejoiced over the children of Judah in the day of their destruction. You know, and Esau's trying to hide this information, you know, trying to, you know, take out words like slavery. Like you had another sellout saying that they migrated over here. Now they're trying to say that we migrated over here. Oh man, we were brought here on them slave ships, just like the prophecy said that we would be. Thou shouldst have not spoken proudly in the day of his distress. Thou shouldest not have entered into the gate of thy people in the day of their calamity. Yea, thou shouldest not have looked on their affliction in the day of their calamity, nor have laid hands on their substance in the day of their calamity. Neither shouldest thou have stood in the crossway to cut off those of his that did not that did escape, neither should thou have delivered those of his that did remain in the day of distress. Of course, because what happened? When Jerusalem was captured, we fled into the mountains of the Sahara deserts, you know, and we were hidden amongst the Hamites, but the Hamites had delivered us over to Esau, you know. And so, you know, they're going to get it too, you know. The day of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai is near. Upon all the heathen as thou hast done, it shall be done unto thee. Thy reward shall return upon thy head. For you have drunk upon my holy mountain, so you have, all the heathen have drunk continually. In other words, they have totally lived off of us, you know. Totally thrived, became a success because of our slavery, you know. Everything that's so-called great about America is because we did the slave work. We built it up, but we never got to enjoy it. You go to work. That's not your business. You're not working for your own business. You know, like another brother said, you think they're really going to seriously give a loan to somebody from the hood? You know, of course not. You work for somebody else's business. You can't prosper here. But upon Mount Zion shall be deliverance. There shall be holiness, and the house of Jacob shall possess their possessions. So we're going to take it all back. You know, we're about to trade places, just like that movie, trading places. Esau is about to become the dung of the earth. It's worse now to be called an Edomite than it was to be called a nigger. The new nigger pretty much is the Edomites. And they're being exposed everywhere, you know. The Illuminati has been exposed. Used to be a secret. But now all their secrets are out there that they have no choice but to show you their secrets, you know. Like be Illuminati in the Taco Bell commercial, you know. They're now putting it out there. Why? Because they've been exposed. And they're going to eventually shut down this media. So use this platform, come out here and teach, do videos, you know, like Apostle Tar said, try to at least do 3 a week, but if you can do like 3 a day, do it. We ain't going to have this platform much longer. You know that net neutrality has been pretty much, it's a no-go anymore, so they can shut us down. And they have been shutting down channels. One of mine just got shut down more recently. You know, videos get taken down all the time. Brothers, you know, lessons, you know, are taken down. So, you know it's happening. Eventually, once that's gone, you ain't going to see us out here anymore. So grab this milk while you still can. Grab this food while you still can. So I hope this has been edifying to your hopeful elect, and Shalom Barakatah.